Hello everyone, Jesse Navarro here bringing you financial tips. One tip of the day I want to talk about is divorce. Now, divorce, there's studies out there that 50% of all marriages end up in divorce. I've never been through it personally, but I know my parents went through a divorce and that was a hard time emotionally, financially, and for the family as well. It was very, very, very difficult time, and it's a very emotional time as well. And it's a time where emotions take over, and logic and thought tend to be skipped. And so I'm here to provide some more logic and thought to it, something to think about. So if divorce is something that is inevitable, if it's bound to happen, well, some restructuring needs to occur. Those restructuring are in your bank accounts, brokerage accounts that you have, restructuring of your retirement account assets as well. Change your beneficiaries on your retirement accounts and bank accounts. Also your wills and trusts. So if you don't want your ex-spouse to still be on your trusts and wills as a beneficiary, probably a good idea to get those changed. The biggest issue is the house. Who's going to live in the house if they own a home? Well, first thing I do is do a cash flow analysis. Figure out if you could even afford to be in the house by yourself. That's a problem when you have two people living in the same place. Now you only have one. So that means there's going to be less income. And so what does a cash flow look like? You know, sometimes it makes sense for a spouse to leave. Sometimes it makes sense for both parties to leave and sell the home. And sometimes that's okay. And that can be done through a cash flow analysis. The second thing is retirement assets, restructurings of those. They're called QDROs. And so be able to move those out into separate assets. So I have a story here, actually a couple that I've met. Let's call them Jan and John. John and Jan. Now, let's say, for example, John and Jan, they're getting a divorce. And they both have let's say together they have a $500,000 joint account, and John has a $500,000 IRA, or be a 401k. Let's say he's got one of those. So to make things easy, John says, well, let's back up a little bit. Let's say they're both 50 years of age, they're retiring, the home's been settled, now they're just dealing with the assets. So remember, 50 years of age. So let's say John says, to make things easier, Jane, just take the joint account and I'm going to take my 401k IRA. Simple, right? $1 million split in half, and that's it. It's done. Well, it's not that simple, because what did John do? Well, John now has no spendable assets. John is 50 years old, and he can't take that money out until he's 59 and 1/2 if it's an IRA. So he just lost out on cash flow, on assets he could spend. So if you were to spend those assets, not only would he be taxed as normal ordinary income, but he'd also be a penalty, a 10% penalty on top of that. Now, was that the best move really for John? Probably not. It probably would have been a better move to split 50-50, half the joint and half the IRA account, so they both have equal amounts of taxable dollars and not in tax sheltered dollars inside the IRA. So some things to think about. Now, another thing to think about is the negotiation and settlement of alimony and child support. And so one thing about alimony and child support, it's child support anyways. Child support's not treated as for income tax purposes. So there's no tax deduction for child support. And the other person receiving the child support, it's not taxed. So when dealing with this, something you have to think about is alimony. A part of alimony is something that payments must be made in cash and must be negotiated. And so alimony is deductible and it is taxable. So that is something that really to consider in negotiations, understanding what the difference is, child support and alimony as well. So again, I hope this never happens to you, but something to think about. If this were to happen, just think, take a step back, meet with your financial planner. If you have a financial planner, meet with your attorney and really talk over these things, because it's very important and could save you a ton of money if done right. Thank you, everyone.